We had Jeff Booth on and we discussed the misinformation in fiat money and how that distorts society and leads to malinvestment. How do you think that improves under a Bitcoin standard?
So Bitcoin has this unique property where every time you make a financial calculation in Bitcoin, if you miscalculate, there's no refunds. The money does not come back to you. And I think in a fiat game where you have bailouts and crony capitalism and favors being cut, people can just keep misspending money. And there's always another print around the corner to be able to help you out, right? And this is where you don't actually get a market feedback loop of taking in new information, integrating it, getting feedback from the market of how successful you are, if you always have someone who's just going to walk in and buy or subsidize your business. So in a Bitcoin world, you're going to be able to have an ability to make your economic calculations, and those who generate value are going to accrue more Bitcoin, and those who can't generate as much value are going to have less. And this is where in a fully functioning capitalist system, ideally, you're going to have a world where people who are able to generate a lot of wealth and value, like just take someone today, like a Jeff Bezos, Amazon has fundamentally changed all of our relationships with how we interact with commerce. That's benefited a lot of individuals. There are costs to that. I know you were trying to quit Amazon for a month. How did that go?
Do you know, I never actually started it just because I hadn't got round to it. But no, I do want to do it. It's more of a case of I've been traveling pretty much non-stop. Sure. I barely used it because I've been traveling.
Right.
So it's not a proper test even. I mean, if I went in, I probably haven't put an order in a month, but I'm here. So I literally haven't had a chance.
Right.
The real test is when I go home and I don't use it. And that's going to be the real test. And maybe I'm wrong to do that. Maybe innovation is something we have to accept, and you know, Amazon is like a natural output of technological innovation. Personally, if I'm as somebody who, like you, prefers the local community, I should just be making an effort to put my money into local, smaller businesses. I am going to look at it. It would be an interesting test, but I assume I will fail.
Yeah, I think Amazon Net is a positive for society. Like, I understand that, you know, it's kind of like when the car was invented, people who were doing horseshoe repairs and making carriages lost out. But that's the creative destruction of capitalism. You're going to have to necessarily have progress. Typewriters stopped being used because computers were invented, right? The change in of itself is not a moral judgment. You have to be conscious of being able to separate out. There will always be disruption and labor disallocate, like you know, being dislodged because they no longer have a job. But it's what enables the quality of life that we have today. And we have to kind of somewhat embrace that.
Quality of life for who, though?
Well, this is the market as a distribution function. It's for whatever everyone decides, because you choose to spend your money on Amazon. So everyone who's choosing to spend their money on Amazon is making a decision saying Amazon's bettering my life. I think there's an interesting interplay with class, though.
I think there's certain, because the people who get Amazon packages every day, but there's certain people who won't be using Amazon every day because they don't have money, but they might be the person who has to go and work there because it's the only job available. And where they used to work in a bookstore and talk to the people coming in, they're now having their pee breaks timed and having to run around and, you know, struggling in a depressing environment to work in.
Well, this is the interplay with class, right? Is that, and this is one thing that I would probably consider myself in the political compass right libertarian, but having sympathies for class-based arguments and understanding that you're going to have winners and losers, and how do you handle and manage how the people who lose in the capitalist system are being taken care of. It's also this funny thing too, where I'm not sure if you remember, I was here in the US when all of the coal miners were getting put out of work because there was a lot of new energy being put up. And the idea is we're going to make them learn how to code. Right, we're going to get coal miners learning how to code. And it was kind of this silly thing because like a lot of the response was like, well, you know, they're in their late 30s, early 40s. Like they're not going to be able to get a tech job. It's kind of like a media narrative that was being pushed on them. And then some media companies had to let go of their journalists, and everyone's like, oh, maybe you should learn how to code. And then that became banned on Twitter. It was like a bannable offense to tell a reporter to learn how to code. So there's these interesting ways power structures reinsert themselves where, oh, the miner, like the people that are working in coal mines, they can learn how to code. Oh, me? Oh, well, I'm a journalist. I'm dignified. I don't want to do that. That's insulting. Ban that person, right? And that's what happened for a while. So the class structure doesn't only always play from a monetary level, but it's also like a social status level of where people perceive themselves in society.
So what happens to Amazon worker rights in a in a society without government and rules? Is it Yelp reviews? This is a great place to work at. Or is it fuck, that's the only job I can get?
Let me think of that. So the idea would be, and I'm going to try and play both sides. One, you're going to have a world, let's take the happy case first, is where you're going to have a lot of people who you're going to be able to work at Amazon, but you're able to actually build savings, right? Your money's not being devalued. So maybe you have to work at Amazon for 5-10 years, but now you have an actual base of money, since you're being paid in Bitcoin, that's actually going to raise value over time. So you're able to actually, instead of living hand to mouth, you actually could work a job and have savings and maybe be able to take a crack at being an entrepreneur or move across the country to a different opportunity, right? Like that would be the idea of the working class in general, a hyper-Bitcoinized world raising all ships. As the money gets better, people who honestly do work and generate value are going to be able to get that compensation and store it away for a better day. So that would be...
If there's money left at the end of the month after they paid for the...
And also in that situation, if everyone's got Bitcoin, is everyone not just rising at the same rate?
Yeah. So this,
how do you like elevate to the next class?
So the increase in productivity of society would be able to increase the value of the Bitcoin, right? So the idea is like, if you're saying like literally everyone's holding Bitcoin, you're going to be in a position where as innovation still continues to happen, you're going to have more goods and services available for the same 21 million Bitcoin. So you're going to have more opportunity and more wealth out there, but the same 21 million Bitcoin's value continues to go up. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be orders of magnitude, right?
But as an Amazon worker, if you're trying to get out of the factory, whatever it is, and move on to sort of the next step of your life, like if everyone's wealth accrues at the same time, like how do you take that step? Like Bitcoin doesn't give you a leg up if it's giving everyone a leg up at the same time.
Well, not everyone's going to have the same rate of savings. Right. Some people and this goes back to the idea of Bitcoin doesn't change the core, just like drives a man. That you're going to have people who are going to spend it on shiny objects. There'll still be some level of consumerism, and people who don't save are going to have less opportunity.
But Amazon won't be subject to minimum wage rates. So likely the compensation for working at Amazon will drop. But and also at the same time, conditions will also likely drop, and they won't have to run adverts in cinemas before someone watches a film telling you all the great perks and things at Amazon. And perhaps at the end of the month, they still not got enough money left, or they have to work 2 jobs.
So this goes to a world with no full anarcho-capitalism. Yeah. So the idea would, on the counterbalance, be that you'd be able to get jobs at another company, or you'd be able to find work elsewhere to be able to, not have to go to Amazon, because people are going to be competing for labor.
If there's enough jobs available.
If there's not enough jobs available, so you're saying like there's only one game in town and Amazon's the only company?
That is the case in some places, pretty much.
Sure.
Like when a Walmart comes to a small town, can be the biggest recruiter. And then, we have had towns where industries have died and there's people just massively out of work.
So if Amazon wasn't there, what are they doing for work?
Well, some of them don't go back to work. Some of them, retire, rely on government support. There's different. So would we just see a natural migration of people? Because there's no government support, maybe you've got no family, you have to move and find work. What I'm getting at is I think there's a certain glue in society that protects people. And I fear we lose that. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's gone too far sometimes, and there are incentives for some people not to work, or maybe to have children. And I get that. But losing that entire glue, I think you end up probably with a different type of wealth disparity, but one where there's no bottom.
Because you don't have that safety net to
There's
step in.
no safety net at all. And I can listen to and understand and debate the ethics of taxation and all tax is coercion, therefore, and all coercion's bad, therefore government is bad. I know the argument. I've had it shouted at me 100 times. But I also think of net benefits, and I look at the best places to live in the world, and they are Western liberal democracies, which have created the social safety net to protect the most vulnerable in society, not just economically, but in terms of rights, civil rights, equal rights. And to lose all that, I feel like is a backward step.
Yeah, it's funny being in the position of taking the ANCAP side of the argument when I'm not an ANCAP. I think in a world where Bitcoin continues to gain dominance and continues to win, it's going to be a messy transition period, as we talked about, right? You don't just all of a sudden get to the end. And I think I'm not going to pretend that I have the right answer to be able to say like how would someone in rural Appalachia working at Walmart, like where are their opportunities going to come from? I think ultimately though, it sounds like a broken record, but just going back to focusing on the things that I can directly control, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's where I find the most meaning in being able to find out what I can have a direct impact on, because the world is a very big, large, chaotic place. And I don't have the hubris to think that I'm able to solve all of those problems. I very humbly walk into it understanding that I know very little and that my sphere of influence is very small, but
growing
maybe. Yeah. But I am but one man, and the ways that society will govern itself, I think there will also be a lot of an element of individuals self-selecting based on their communities, right? The idea that in a world where you have this full dissolution of the state, I don't even think will truly happen, but just to take
I don't think it can happen.
Yeah, no, but you're still got people self-select based on their values to live in certain areas. It's not like Portland, Oregon's going to become a Republican paradise overnight because hyper-Bitcoinization happens. You're going to have people in a local community with a certain set of values, with agreements on what they're willing to do. And it's also a great way to attract labor and talent. If people are going to be better taken care of elsewhere, it provides an opportunity where you want to bring people along for labor. It's kind of like a microcosm with Tesla, when that town supervisor or congressional, I forgot who it was, basically told Elon to go F himself.
And he was like, see ya.
Yep, bye, I'm going to Texas. And now Texas has all of the industry in the capital, right? And the employee base here. So I think that there's a natural self-selecting mechanism where people are going to find ways to be able to find local communities that align with their values and being able to get taken care of that way.